So to kick us off in this transitions panel, I would love for each of our panelists to spend just a couple of minutes introducing themselves and focusing on their most recent venture, meaning what were you doing, your particular role, and where you are now. Then we'll spend a few minutes also diving into specific questions around, as we said, the in-between. So why don't we start with you, Tesh?
Now I think I can call myself a serial technology entrepreneur. I've been building tech businesses for the last 10 years. So I'm a third-time founder, transitioning from a business called MarketForce, which was in B2B e-commerce. What that means is we're supplying inventory and digitizing Dukas. And that was the reason we ended up transitioning is because we couldn't make the business work. It's very tough in terms of unit economics, so the business model. And this was talked about earlier. We took on a Silicon Valley type approach to building the business. And that's what was required to make it successful. But we ended up not being able to keep the lights on for long enough by raising more and more rounds of funding to keep the business alive. So it was a very cash intensive business. So last year transitioned into Chapter, which is what we're building today. Chapter we're building conversational AI agents for businesses, and this helps them with sales and customer service on WhatsApp and Instagram. So basically your business is awake all the time. You don't have to rely on human agents to respond to every customer who's reaching out to buy. And this is the fastest growing e-commerce channel globally, social commerce. People will discover you and buy from you on Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook, and all these platforms. So we're helping businesses really make sense out of their social commerce side of things. Yes.
Excellent, thank you, Tesh. And we'll talk a bit more about how do you know when it's time to let go later in the discussion. Over to you, Delilah.
Hi everyone, I'm Delilah. I am an entrepreneur, third-time entrepreneur as well. So before delving into technology, I was actually more on the impact side, so really focusing on education. But after sitting on the investment side, based out of Nes in Ghana, I started my first technology business with my co-founder called Koa. So Koa was a savings platform which plugged into the asset management industry here in Kenya and allowed you to save as little as 100 shillings. Similar to Tesh, unit economics, always questionable. So at that point when the funding kind of started to dry up in the market, especially for fintechs, we decided to go for a pivot, where we then launched the first kind of digital business bank for SMEs in Kenya, which was called Lotus. But behind the scenes, even though kind of the product started working and things were really good, behind the scenes there was tension in the business and tension in the co-founder relationship, and so I decided to exit the business at that point. I guess we'll talk about that kind of middle piece in a bit, but at that point transitioned into a new company, which has now been about 15 months. And this is a roadside rescue service for trucks. So very different than what we were doing before, but actually financial services filters into everything. So that's a big component of what we're doing now. Yeah, cool to be here.
Excellent, thank you, Delilah. And one key theme we'll talk about with you is co-founder dynamics and knowing when to transition, and also transitioning from a venture-backed organization to one that's more brick and mortar and traditional, so to speak. Over to you, Ian.
Hi, everyone. So I think it's important to set some sort of context. I transitioned from a corporate career, which is not always an easy thing, being an entrepreneur. I consider myself a serial entrepreneur. So my first venture was a startup in the telco space. This was back in the day when licenses would be issued. We were issued with what was then referred to as a local loop license to set up a network in Nairobi. The company was called Popote Wireless, with three good friends of mine, school friends. That was a real adventure. We had, I thought, a great business, but but later on, we realized, even though we were fully funded, that in itself was not a guarantee for success. And we run into a lot of headwinds. Headwinds relating to an unfair regulatory environment, shareholder issues, competition playing dirty. This was sort of a high stakes game, and I was able to, at some point, realize, as far as my own personal journey as an entrepreneur is concerned, that I needed to transition. I'll unpack that a little bit more. So I transitioned into serviced offices. Believe it or not, the two things are related. I'll unpack that as well. And that's Horizons Offices. So Horizons Offices is actually the group company that runs OneSpace. OneSpace is where you all are, and you're all very welcome. And my guys are around to tell you more about what we do if you're looking for a great place to scale up and grow. I know Eric's ambition for many of us is to be the next Africa multinationals. This is a great place to start from. So that's what I do, and from that, and I'll talk a little bit more about maybe the next phase of transitioning, which is a little bit more orderly. I'm involved in a number of other things. One, I didn't mention this to you, Rachel, there's another one. But we've actually built a platform to manage co-working space, and that would be an Africa play. Everything about me is about the Africa agenda, and we're also involved in Convene Africa, who I'm glad to say we're able to support this event. You know the way when us Africans go to meetings, we say that we're on the menu, right? So Convene Africa is trying to change that. We want to shape our own agenda. We want to influence policy. We want to connect people, and we want to realize growth. That's kind of what we're doing here today, right? So looking forward to conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ian. And I think one key perspective we'll hear from you is being a portfolio entrepreneur. So not necessarily being with one venture and going to another, but building a portfolio. Great, thank you. Over to you, Mike.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Michael Shire. I'm been in tech for the last 25 years. I've never really been employed. So I believe my first project was a company called Synthesis Technologies, which I see a few people that walked through my life in my company as very young graduates. And today I see the vision. It's great to see the impact we've had. Scaled this business significantly for 21 years. We are one of the largest technology company here as a brick and mortar tech business, supporting government, supporting private sector, banks, telcos, whatever. So we're pretty big. Got into what I believe one of the major projects, raised money from institutional shareholders pretty early, so like a branch, Toyota and others, and private investors. Moved to try and implement the largest healthcare project then. I thought, today I see figures of 108 billion. That started there, right? That was really in 2017 trying to shape the whole journey of healthcare in Kenya, having been very successful driving projects like the Huduma Center, that you guys used to do, was my idea from scratch. And today it's something that everybody knows, so thought I could also do the same in healthcare. Began doing what we call major transformation healthcare, managed to get a large project with government that became my Achilles heel, really not because the project was not a good project, it was because I thought, in my mind, this is a great project to change the country, but I didn't realize the people on the table don't really want to change the country. I go to meetings, I think, my God, we have practice. But when I leave the room, everybody doesn't want to do what we say we do. So I think that was a major turning point for me. And that project was it was what we call our go-to-God moment in terms of business. It really destroyed my business because 250 people applied on a project like that, $50 million project. Today, that project has been pivoted to become a $108 billion project from $5 billion. So 25 times. I think you guys are going to be part of the consumers of the shift healthcare. So good luck with that. And then subsequently, the project of I'm going to give that project 5 years. Don't implement the project in 6 months. So subsequently, then you say, okay, transformation of healthcare, bottom up, so top down is not the way. Let me try and transform healthcare bottom up. And moved into a project, a B2B2C platform called Pone Health. Built Pone Health, and then COVID came. Great move, because not great move, but it happened. So accelerated our growth, a lot of customers, and then everyone goes to hospitals, use our platform. So again, believe, my God, this is going to scale 100,000 orders or clinical bookings, whatever. Builds a significant great platform. B2B2C, only to realize you can't be both building technology and also trying to be B2C. The other you're spending money in marketing, or at the same time you're spending money on building. It's very difficult business to do. Subsequently realized that I need to white label my platform. So now I white label the platform. We build significant customer journeys. Now we white label our platform to payers, healthcare payers, to insurance companies, and to governments, right? Either in the Middle East or West Africa, whatever. And you can use our platform and you can sell it from a SaaS model. But then subsequently move to the next step to realize you don't necessarily have to do healthcare only led platform. It's a marketplace. It has the buyers, sellers. We can move this into agriculture. You can get agri-vets or vets or farming goods. So realize the platform can be used for multiple capabilities. So now we want to level it for various other sectors.